Hello, Great Couch. This is Stanley,
Otito.
and we have an extra special treat for you this week. We have the Akinsolas here with us. I'm going to let them introduce themselves in a minute, but want to disclaimer and apologize ahead of time. There are a lot of years friendship in this particular circle, so if we hear any side joke or inside comments, we will try as much as possible to translate.
Don't be angry.
Eh?
I said, don't be angry.
Before. So, introduce yourself.
So I'm Bayo Akinsola.
I'm Bolanle Akinsola.
Thanks so much for that. We want to know, how long have you guys known each other and how long have you guys been married?
So I think we've known each other maybe 1 to 2 years before we got married.
Yeah.
Maybe almost 2 years or 2 years. And then we've been married for almost 20 years. We'll be 20 years in May. May of 2023. So officially we are 19 years plus. So I guess you would say 21 to 22 years we've known each other.
And that puts them in the which early mid
Junior category.
I know, mid almost seasoned. So
mid almost seasoned. We'll take that.
Yes, almost seasoned, remaining small. So I have to apologize for my voice, right? But we said that this was real life, right? So if this was TV now, they will ban me from showing up with my voice, but we're here. So, okay, continue.
So Oti, do you want to tell the audience how we got to know the Akinsolas?
How we got to know the Akinsolas. I knew Bolanle first. Bayo was like a later addition to the duo. An addition that, of course, is the main one. Some of us are just side, to the side in this relationship now. But known Bolanle for, I don't know, how long have I known Bolanle? Since school now, very long. Very long. Yeah, since college, and then finished medical school. Then you met Bayo, then I met him. And then we all emigrated to different places, and now we're back again together. But together being relative, right? Because right now we're in different locations still, but we're still visiting each other on the couch. So yeah.
But to played a major role in our wedding. Major role.
Speaking of wedding, I saw a picture of the wedding. In fact,
okay.
So the areas that you guys wanted to talk on, or that your strengths were communication, sex, the role of faith and religion, and cradling, which is parenting. So we'll jump into communication. So which communication styles have you found to have worked best for your marriage over the years? And did you find yourself falling into this spontaneously, or was there some work done in terms of compromise to get you guys to where you are?
Yeah, I believe that actually we did combine a couple of communication styles all put together, and we didn't fall into it spontaneously. I particularly had to grow into it because you see, she's more of a talker. She talks, and wants to express. Mine is few words, let's get things understood and let's move on, right? And I found out that doesn't work. So I had to more and more listen, hear more from what she's saying. Because one thing I get to understand also, right, is that sometimes you are hearing something, but you're not really listening, right? And you interpret it your own way. And I found out that actually gets more on her nerves because that's not what she's trying to pass across. So I had to learn that kind of communication skills of not just hear, but listen, and then look at it from her perspective, from where she's coming from. And also with that understanding, no matter how unimportant that topic is, if I'm looking at it from her perspective, If it's very important from our perspective, I have to take it that way. So I think I grew into that to learn more and more. And that is the way I can say that our communication skills has grown.
Anyway, I think that another thing that is a foundation for us, for our home, and that has helped our communication is that we have this belief, or I don't know, mantra, or I don't know what to call it, where I if I know that Bayo isn't going to do anything to intentionally hurt me, and Bayo knows that Bolan is not going to do anything to intentionally hurt him. So if something happens that I got hurt, I already come into that conversation knowing that I was hurt, but it wasn't intentional, because if he knew that it was going to hurt me, he wouldn't have done it. So I already come into that conversation, or or that settlement, if I can use that word. All of us come with that assurance, and so it makes it easy for us to be able to, like I said, talk. And then listen to understand, as opposed to listening to say your next thoughts. And so, like I said, we definitely didn't, we definitely had to grow into it, over the years, as we had to settle issues or, conflicts that, that arose during our marriage. But that was definitely something that we eventually had to grow into. And it has definitely worked for us. There's no one, style. It's just kind of blending the different parts together. And that has really helped enrich our marriage.
So following up with that though, I have to ask, what would you say her love language is, or his language is to you? And would you say that it has changed in the 22 years? This is 22 years that you guys have known each other?
I guess I can speak for me, but definitely I don't think my love language has changed. I think I've always been touch, quality time. I think I have all of them. Like I only have one love language altogether. I think, because I definitely love to spend time, and I definitely like touch. That's definitely a huge part of my love language, and I also like to receive gifts. So I think it's kind of everything. Bayo is more of an act of service person, and that's what he was. I think it has evolved, and he will speak for himself, into, and that's all part of that communication skills, getting to understand what I like and realize that is important to me, and so him having to now touch, and I would say maybe he's added the touch and quality time, but definitely acts of service is still a huge part of his love language. I'm going to say something. I don't know if you're going to add this. I remember when we were dating, and he used to say that he used to say it's then. He used to say that he doesn't be telling his wife, "I love you" every day. Like, if I said it the first time, that
the act of service should come out.
That's what I'm saying. He used to say that. Seriously. I'm like, I don't think I'll marry this guy, because you don't meet my fancy livers book. I'm always the hopeless romantic. Like, I don't know if this is gonna work, But definitely that has definitely changed. So it has changed. I don't think mine has. So yes. Let us speak for yourself.
Yeah. I'm a follower of Christ. Love is by giving. Bible says God so loved that He gave. So an expression of my love is service, is giving. And I thought that should suffice. But I think in most ladies it's not that way. So I thought that with all this sacrifice, service, I can do anything for you.
Yeah.
To compensate for I love you every day. But that wasn't working. And so that wasn't working. That was my initial. Yeah, I actually had to tell her frankly initially when we started, look, I'm not the guy that will just tell her I love you. I thought you'd be tired of hearing that. Just see my service. You want to be here, I love you, but that didn't work. And you know, as the master and the captain of the ship, I had to make sure I changed my style.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had to learn, and I'm still learning because it's difficult. For a leopard to do his part. So I still have to learn now the additional parts that I don't, that saying I love you regularly. I'm doing more touching, and the more difficult part is the lyrics and the notes. Yeah, had to do a lot of tutoring on that. But whatever it takes, you got it.
I can testify that Babaya is not lying. I'm always hearing him say, I love you to his wife. Me, I'm hearing it with the hearing of my ears. So yes, it's something that has really, really entered into the conversation. Okay, well, Bolanle did has not changed.
What about me? Are you hearing from me? Okay, I hear from you too. Please, break out. Please break out your.
Hold on. Let me use one of the types of language they use now. Why are you centering yourself on this conversation when we're talking to the Akinsolas, Mr. Ox?
I'm trying to get validation from this.
Okay, I love you. Okay, I love you. I love you. Okay, so I or we learned something from both of you, and that was the concept of, you go out to dinner or somewhere, a nice place, and then each person takes turns, one outing at a time, to kind of talk about maybe something that they had an issue with, right, with the other party, something you disapprove of or something you don't like, sort of like a hashing out. And the other party was required to just, listen without countering or anything of, okay, I hear you, that kind of thing. And so my question for you is, how did you come on this approach, and how well has it worked or been working for you? I mean, it's been working, obviously, because I learned it from both of you, but how did you come up on this approach? Because I remember for us, it was really hard to sit there and just be listening to somebody without wanting to defend yourself. I think that's because, as humans, it's like, no, I didn't do that. I did, you want to always have a comeback. So to be able to sit, I thought that was a lot of discipline, right? Self-discipline and otherwise, to be able to say, okay, I've heard what you're saying, right? Without the need to try to defend the action or defend the, situation. So tell me how you came up on that approach and how it's worked for you.
Yeah, that's an important observation. And I mean, truly, it took a while to get to that level.
Okay.
Because you see, initially for me, so I'm a logical person, right?
Yeah.
And she is more a feeler and someone that, emotional. So first, when she was trying to say something, I want to just cut in and look, let's end this and move on. That didn't work. Secondly, I thought all she's saying is that she wants me to defend myself and to explain. So I will try and explain all the logic is because of this, that. And it then keeps saying, she'll say, no, this, that. And more and more as that went on, again, I had to see that, look, it seems I'm taking this as a competition to prove myself. And I learned something very strongly at the beginning that, look, it's not a matter of winning the argument. In fact, there's this saying that actually when you lose, you win. So it's not the number of arguments you win. Many times actually when you lose and you subject yourself, you lose, you actually win at the end of the day. So with that mentality and idea, it now gave me that courage and that strength to, first and foremost, look, you're not here to prove your point or to argue. Listen to all that she has to say. Get from where she's coming from. She's not here for you to explain, but to understand the impact such behaviors or such things had on her and where she's coming from. And like I said earlier at the beginning, don't just hear, listen carefully to it. And therefore, that encourages you to listen to the end. You are not here to argue or prove your point. And you now listen to the end. Actually, if you listen to the end, you see more points and more meaning to what they're saying than if we're trying to cut and go. Encourage you to listen to the end and then make amends. Because at the ultimate end, the whole idea of every situation, that I want to please her, she wants to please me, right? And when you get now that full understanding, you will then be able to know what next to do.
Yeah, we definitely had to get to there. Like, we had to get to that stage because, like I said, Why is kind of person that is very logical. He's like, move on, and I want to dwell. I don't want to repeat myself. He says I'm very repetitive, but sometimes it just helps to just kind of walk it through, and sometimes that takes repetition. And initially, at first, just looking under the rug, getting to know each other. But I was getting uncomfortable. It would like be a burden, in me, and will end up, maybe affecting. Maybe I'll be grumpy, I'll be grouchy, I'll be moody, and so, I also had to learn that for my own peace and for me to, be at peace in the home and in a relationship. I have to say, but this thing, you may be settled for you, but it's not settled for me. We have to talk it out. So I think that was how it was born.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's so funny that you were saying that, we probably started out that way, but now, maybe because of time and we're so busy, now we do it even more for now. We don't have to go
to the restaurant. At night. At night, you will just sleep and buy and have something.
I just have a boat to me to give. I don't have the start. I just say, I have a boat.
In fact, in those early days, okay.
And I go, and they'll be like, what? Because and then we'll talk about it. I'll be like, this is how I feel about this. This is, what is going on. I don't like this, So now maybe we should go back to this. Thank you for reminding me.
Eat well. I had to learn to be humble in those days, because initially, right, first I want to argue and tell you, look, these are my points.
Yeah.
And then I learned and moved a step further. I said, no, don't argue, don't struggle to win, bring up. So being, first it's difficult for a guy to say I'm sorry, right? But quickly and early, I humbled myself and I will say I'm sorry. And then I've said sorry. Let that end and let's move on.
Yeah.
Then she makes you what? So, sorry for what? I can't just say you're sorry. Sorry for what? Because she kind of understood at that time, and it was true, that sorry is not not that I truly understood all that was going on. Exactly. And that again was a way the devil wants to trigger and say, I say I'm sorry, and I'm not. And I had to learn that along the line, and then when I know, okay, sorry for truly, let me see, what am I really sorry for? And let me just go more deep, and that was like.
Yeah. Okay, you want to
about changing the venue, because I was like, I say, it's one of us knows that there's no time to go for venue. And by the time you go for venue, you don't want to spoil flexibility as in
flexibility now, like I think we're so used to it now that we'll just be like, we have something. And I think I probably learned this from you too, or not, maybe not learn, or I've seen you guys do it where so you talk about how you're able to, is it compartmentalize?
Yeah.
So you may have had just like an intense discussion, but you're going for an event. And you say, this intense discussion, we'll put it to
we'll continue it later.
Event, you're still talking, you're still friendly, it doesn't mean that you're not going to still come back and but and that's part of the maturity, and that's what we do. So being able to, but yes, some people will just hold on to that hurt, spoil,
the whole day.
Because you've not really had time, but you are able to compartmentalize and say, we're going to have it. And I think you guys do that too. And then you come back later and say, okay, hey, we are back. This thing that we did, let's do it. So it is very important, and it's definitely something.
Yeah. So I have to tell you the question of sorry, right? For us, is it like the opposite? I used to tell him, I said, don't say sorry if you don't mean it, you know? And I'll tell you something. I used to think in my mind, it's still, you're hearing all this sorry now. We are not appreciating it until this sorry stops coming, you know? Because, okay.
Right.
So quick to say sorry. Like, I don't know how to explain. Like, I feel like, is this sorry sincere? But it was very sincere. It's a question of he doesn't like conflict. So this idea of, you know, trying to be talking about things is like, I'm really sorry, I'm really sorry. And I'll be like, no, if you are not sorry, don't say sorry. And at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I better know what you're asking for, because don't let the sorry stop coming. But you know, I think like you're saying about maturity and Christian marriage, truth of the matter is that we all do things that we're sorry for, right? So if you're saying, I'm going to stop saying sorry, that kind of, that becomes like an intentional thing for you to continue to, you know, hurt your partner and then use the excuse of, well, maybe they said they didn't want sorry, they want action, you know, that kind of thing. So just wanted to bring that out. Okay, so now we're going to go to coupling or sex, usually the big one. And in your case, I know that your boys are grown, right? Like you have one in college and you're soon going to be, you know, official empty nesters, right? Because once one has gone, the others are, you know, on their way to going. So the question for you is, how has it been? And I know you're both very busy, right? Physicians and church ministers. So how has it been maintaining intimacy in the midst of your busy schedule? So give us the secret sauce if you have some to share.
Yeah. Well, so despite the busy schedule, right? One of the important things that we discover and do is that concerning the intimacy, especially a home going to get empty quickly, I discovered that it's not just a matter of a satisfactory sex life, but also intimacy and friendship. When you talk about emptiness, I remember there was a time not too long ago that both our kids were out of the house for like 2 days. And we looked at each other and said, hey, what are we going to be doing? And I looked at it. In fact, that day was so funny. After looking at each other for a while, I said, let's go out and have ice cream. So we actually went out, had ice cream, we took a walk, say, hey, we got to get used to this. And basically, it, you know, sex in itself, how many minutes does it take in the 24 hours? Doesn't take a long. Now, obviously, there's the initial, you know, moving up, little touching and this and that throughout the day. But even if you add that time together and the exact sex time itself, there's a lot of time. And therefore, that alone will not satisfy. There has to be real friendship, relationship, enjoying things in common. And that one has to always be careful. So she mentioned a couple of things. One, the kids. So you have kids, you are busy training and developing. You are busy with your profession, your work. But those two things will reduce many years to come, right? And if you've not practiced and continue to have friendship, discussion, fellowship together, it will get to suddenly. Like you said, the boys will be out of the house. Job-wise too, I mean, I don't want to work too long and too hard till old age. Work will reduce, and then there will be much more time alone. That's not the time you start to develop friendship. You have developed it along the line. Many families suffered during this COVID when by force now the couple had to stay much longer together than they have ever done. And so we are making, you know, continuously making conscious effort, being intentional about the friendship, the relationship, the intimacy.
Know what people are expecting, you know, and now the one that the expected is also definitely part of it, but you mentioned a lot of things, and I think the one thing I want to focus on is being intentional. And the secret sauce is being friends of each other, having things in common. It doesn't sound like secret sauces, but they actually are the main secret sauce, because like you said, at the end of the day, how much time is the sex act itself. So you really have to be friends. You have to be each other's friends, true friends. You have to have things in common, that you guys enjoy to do together, because it definitely makes a huge difference. And you have to be intentional about those things along the way. And then you also have to be intentional about the touches, the non-sexual touches, the gifts, the acts of service, the love, the words, like you said, is definitely hugely improved. In fact, I would say from maybe from 10% to like 110. Like he's really, really turned around. So some examples, and it's intentionality, because he doesn't have to do it, so like every single day when I'm going to work, if I happen to go to work while because my shift, I work in the air, it's all about the clock. If I happen to go to work while he's home, if it is 11 p.m. or if it is 5 a.m. or whatever time it is, even if he's only had 2 hours sleep, Bayo will get up from the bed and walk me to my car. It has never it has always, so those little intentional things, always saying, like, Otito said she has heard it, always saying, intentionally saying, I love you, saying, oh, you look so beautiful today, without any aim of anything. It's just like something that is done daily. And, the same for me, we also have a posture of thanksgiving a lot in this house. We're very thankful for any small thing. Oh, thank you for helping me to open the team, for helping to open the team. So just little, like I said, they're important, but I don't think what is more important than the secret sauce is that intentionality about about having things in common and doing things together. Because when everybody leaves, when the work reduces, you're left with yourself. And like you said, the sex act is how many minutes? So you really need to still enjoy each other's company sincerely and truthfully. That really what helps the intimacy, the spark.
Yeah. I want to pick up on something that you said, which I think sometimes we take for granted, and that's that posture of thanksgiving, right? Because familiar comes from family, the word familiarity, right? It's like, the person so much, and but I think the idea of saying thank, because I've had people have that conversation with me, like, why should I say thank you? That's what the person ought to be doing, and like you said something, they don't have to do it, right? That's the human, what's the word, autonomy, or the free will, right? So in as much as we think they should be doing it, they don't have to do it. So the fact that they do it, I think as humans, we need to be appreciative one of each other. I love that you picked that, because I've had a conversation with many people who will say, well, what am I saying thank you for? And I'm like, thank you because, you live with them and they're doing those things, right? So you just want to appreciate them. Maybe it comes from our background. Like, I don't think growing up, you ever heard your parents or anybody say thank you for doing your duties,
Yeah.
True.
Well, not an argument. Love an emotion, or love a choice, a decision that you make?
I would say I'm in the camp of decision. That's what I would say. I think there's an element of both of them, because it may start as an emotion where you feel the butterflies, you feel the sparks, but after a while it becomes a decision. You make a decision.
I think it's a mix, but more of a decision. I think the more the emotion and less the decision, that's lost, right? And that's why emotions, lost, you go to do what sometimes you don't even want to do.